Over 52,000 fans packed into Houston's NRG Stadium on Tuesday, January 4th, 2022, to watch the Texas Bowl. It was the last bowl game before the national championship game between Georgia and Alabama. The game was broadcast on ESPN, so the national spotlight would squarely be on Kansas State and LSU. Landry Weber probably wasn't thinking about the spotlight. The Wildcat wide receiver was likely thinking about doing whatever he could to help his team end a 2-game losing streak. And this game looked like it would be a memorable one. On 2nd and 15, Landry caught a 5-yard pass from quarterback Skylar Thompson on the Cats' opening drive. He had already exceeded the number of receptions he had in the last game of the regular season against Texas. It was now 3rd and 10. The aggressive Tiger defense pressured Thompson on the next play.
They just get it off. And Skylar Thompson harassed in the pocket already. Lets it go, and it's complete. Landry Weber was wide open and into LSU territory.
A Tiger player's helmet slammed into Landry's knee as 2 other LSU players converged on him. After the tackle, Landry jumped up to signal first down, then went back down again.
I got injured in the last game of my career in the bowl game.
But as Landry was being treated on the field, ESPN play-by-play announcer Tom Hart said, "Here's a young man who has bigger things planned than just football. Landry Weber plans to go into the priesthood after he's done with his football career."
And so I thought this would be a pretty private decision and a pretty quiet one, and it turned into a really loud one. About 5 days after it got announced, all of a sudden this just explosion happened where I'm getting called and interviewed multiple times a day. And it went on for months. It felt weird to talk about it, to, kind of get flaunted around. Like, look at this guy, let's do a special segment about him.
So why is Landry talking to me about his path to becoming a Catholic priest? This is a Wildcat's Walk with God. Welcome to BYU Radio's Big Stories, telling the amazing and inspiring tales from the Big 12 and beyond. I'm your host, Cleon Wall.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. Great to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Cleon Wall.
Nice.
I met Landry Weber for the first time at Corpus Christi Catholic Parish.
Our mission's posted up here for the summer. Our kids sleep here in the classrooms of this church. And
Oh, really?
we go out during the day and serve just the homeowners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here in Lawrence.
Wait, did he just say Lawrence? The home of the University of Kansas? The in-state rivals of Kansas State University? Yep, Landry was hanging out in enemy territory wearing a black t-shirt with the purple Power Cat on it.
It gets brought up more than I expected it to. When I first got here, I was very discreet. I didn't really want to wear much K-State stuff. I wasn't sure how they would react, but I've noticed there's a handful of K-Staters, especially hidden in this church, and they'll come up to me and flash our little K-State sign, and they'll say, "Go Cats," to me, which has been really funny. So I started to rock my K-State gear a little bit more. I haven't broke out any purple yet, but there's been some K-Staters, and even the KU fans have been very supportive of, just proud that, an athlete in the state of Kansas given their life to the church, and they've been very supportive.
To understand why Landry devoted his life to God and to Kansas State football, all you have to do is look to his parents.
My name is Stan Weber.
I'm Nancy Weber. I went to K-State as a freshman, and I was on the track team, and then I became a cheerleader.
Stan was a quarterback for the Wildcat football team.
The first time that I met her, I actually was on the road as an injured player in Tempe, Arizona, at a game where K-State was getting ready to play Arizona State in 1982. Nancy and the cheerleading squad was there. And so I knew a number of the people on the cheerleading squad, and so we spoke to each other.
I'm seeing him on crutches because he had hurt his knee. And then I'd known about him because I had read an article about him in the Manhattan paper, about his injury and things. So I knew who he was from that, reading the article.
And, we became friends and just hit it off from there.
The only reason that he said he was able to spend time getting to know me was because the NFL was on strike and he had nothing else to do. So that's
the focus is correct, but your schedule's so busy with school and football, and on Sunday afternoons, after we got a chance to meet each other, I would call her on the phone, and we would end up talking for a long time and getting to know each other. And she just said to me after about the third Sunday, you know what? If the NFL was playing, you'd be watching the games right now, and you would not have called me. And I said, that is true.
The football life didn't end when Stan's career as the Cats QB concluded.
We moved to Kansas City and started our professional lives, obviously wanting to root for K-State like any other fan. But after 2 years of being there, watching K-State play games and not being a player, they asked me to be a broadcaster. So my third year out of school, I became a broadcaster in 1987. And so then it just ramped up 100 times.
All our vacations are basically based around sports, like the bowl games or something sports related.
My dad's been calling games for K-State Sports Network for my whole entire life, so I know no different than him waking up on Saturdays and going to Manhattan for the football game. That's how we spent our Saturdays.
Landry was the easiest child to bring up ever. Maybe it's because we're too busy doing other things. I mean, it may be that we didn't focus on him enough, but he never seemed to need anything.
He didn't mind playing by himself.
He was happy with everyone.
And he always was really interested in activities and sports. I remember I saw him running around the house, outside the house. I said, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm doing drills. See, I do push-ups here, and I run around the house once, and I do this. He would just make this up in his head.
I remember no different than loving football my whole entire life. I can't remember a time that I didn't love the game of football. I'm the youngest of 4 of us, and so it was easy to see my older siblings, my older brother especially, playing the game of football being on the TV with my dad. He tells me stories that I was pretty quickly at a young age throwing the football around and throwing it well.
We say, this is how you take a snap. This is how you throw. Every kid probably throws with their dad. But I may have said, this is exactly how you hold the ball. And so they're kind of always being trained. So it wasn't about you have to be quarterback. It's just they really had a high aptitude of being able to do it. They were taught since they were 2 years old to do the fundamentals the right way.
When you're at a young age, the game of football is just who's the best athlete. And so growing up, I was just the faster one, the one that could throw well. And so it was a natural position that I enjoyed playing, and it helped him in teaching me how to do it. And to being the leader out there on the team.
While Stan was teaching Landry and brother Stanton the finer details of flinging the football, Nancy was bringing her children closer to God both inside and outside the home.
I was not Catholic when I married Stan, and through the calling of the Holy Spirit, I did convert to Catholicism, and I always tell him that's the best thing that ever happened to me in our marriage. Was the best thing about marrying him was I became Catholic. And then I'm actually a teacher. I've taught 20 years at a Catholic school. I teach theology. And I taught all my children.
So we had those two big focuses growing up, football, sports, and faith.
Landry leaned on those spiritual lessons when his football life got tougher at Bishop Miege High School. The Stags had an opening at quarterback, and it came down to Landry and an older classmate.
So they went through preseason, no preseason games, and the coach had to make a choice between 2 kids. And it is almost an impossible choice. Because neither of them had started the year before. So, which one you're going to pick? Because the quarterback who left before them was a college starting quarterback.
One guy's a sophomore, one guy's a junior. He was more of a pure quarterback than me. I was more of an athlete.
So now here comes who's going to be the next one, and they picked the other kid who's great.
I joked that I was the second best quarterback in the state. I just got beat out by the first best.
That part of it was not fun. And so you have to sit there and go, is this fair? And all those emotions. And, if you're just frank about the absolutes, no, it was not fair. It's completely unfair. He probably could have beat that kid out.
That was one of the first just really tough moments and a moment of faith where I had to just really lean into God and trust in Him and His plan for my life, because it wasn't that I was a bad quarterback.
I have to say, as a parent, am I going to be involved in this, or am I going to stay and let him grow from it? And the fact was, God's plan, we would say, is better than ours. Landry wasn't going to be a college starting quarterback.
Landry transitioned from tossing the pigskin to intercepting it.
I played no offense my junior year, so it was a weird transition. I really love offense. I'm more of an offensive player, and I moved to safety, but I was maybe the best safety in the state. I had, I think, 6 interceptions, and it wasn't until my senior year that I switched to receiver.
And he immediately turned into a star player, doing other things, and was great friends with his quarterback. The quarterback's the all-time leading passing quarterback in Kansas history. So being forced to play wide receiver ended up being what? A great training ground, because I wasn't in the backyard teaching him how to be a wide receiver his whole life. So he had to use that last couple years in high school to just learn every little basic thing to get going.
I think it really lays the foundation of what we teach our children, that whatever you do, you try your hardest at. And that's how you glorify God, by trying your hardest. That's how you grow in holiness, is by doing that.
I just really leaned into God the Father and trusted in his plan for my life. And as I look back on it, his plan was pretty great.
Trusting God's plan would become foundational in his next phase of life. Coming up next, Landry Weber lives out his dream and then gives it all up. This is BYU Radio's Big Stories. If you enjoy the amazing stories we have here on the Big Stories podcast as much as I do, I know you'll enjoy hearing similar stories over on the Her Why podcast. Host Lauren McLean interviews amazing current and former female BYU athletes and coaches, and you won't want to miss their inspiring true stories, like former gymnast Rebecca Bean Ripley. She kept coming back from surgery to compete, and eventually she became the talk of the gymnastics world with her Barbie girl routine. And then there is trainer Carolyn Billings, who has endured one trial after another, yet she still turns to a higher power and the BYU soccer team to receive strength. If you've ever wondered how these people have gotten to where they are now, I highly recommend subscribing and listening to Her Why wherever you find podcasts like YouTube or Apple Podcasts, or you can check it out on the BYU Radio app. Welcome back to BYU Radio's Big Stories. This is a Wildcat's Walk with God. The royal purple of Kansas State is prevalent in Stan and Nancy Weber's basement. Each piece of memorabilia honors athletic accomplishments.
The first bowl in K-State history is actually 1982, and I was on that team.
Stan is a former Wildcat QB. Nancy is a former track athlete and cheerleader. A few of their kids also played sports in Manhattan, Kansas.
My daughter shows her playing volleyball for K-State. My two sons playing football. Big 12 champion. Stanton was lucky enough to be a champion of the 2012 team.
And then there's the youngest, who's named after a pro football legend.
I was a big Dallas Cowboy fan as a young kid, and I loved Roger Staubach. And everything that he said you needed to do to be a good human, a good person. He was Catholic like I was growing up, a great football player. Everything he did, I was so motivated by. I thought Roger Staubach was great. And so I go, it'd be great to honor my kids and name after something like that. But I just couldn't think of my kid being named Staubach. I couldn't do it. And Roger didn't really turn the crank either. So I went, well, I really like Tom Landry, so how about Landry?
Landry Weber was a standout safety and receiver at Bishop Miege High School in Kansas. Now, you'd like to think it was a foregone conclusion that Landry would head to Kansas State just like his parents and older siblings.
K-State started to recruit me, but I also got recruited by some smaller Division II schools, and one of them was in Washburn, which is in Topeka, and they brought me out on a visit, and I really strongly considered going there because they were giving me close to a full scholarship, and K-State would have been a walk-on, and so I legitimately looked into both options, and my dad was open and supportive, and we walked through it together, just analyzing the information. But at the end of the day, I decided, this has been my dream, and I think I'm good enough to do it, and I want to take my shot. I don't want to go play at a good school, Division II ball, but then leave saying, oh man, I had more in me. I was going to shoot for the stars, and if I failed, at least I tried. And so I decided to walk on at K-State. Fortunately, my brother had walked on before me, and so I got to see kind of he set the blueprint for how to approach walking on. And funny enough, he was also on staff. K-State has a really great walk-on culture that once you're in the locker room, they don't care if you're a walk-on or a starter.
When Landry first came into K-State, his freshman year, that would have been my sophomore year.
This is former K-State fullback Mason Barta.
I was gray-shirted, so I had to go through the whole training with the freshmen all over again. So I was kind of in his class in the training, and we just really hit it off right away. He's a great dude. He has his values, and he's a little hard-headed on some things that he believes in. but he's very open and very loving, I would say, and willing to get along with anyone.
But he did stick up for his values. During Landry's freshman campaign, the team got together in fall camp to vote on goals for the upcoming season.
You name it, anything that we want the team to do or what we want to try as a team. And the first, one of the things that came up was just a dry season for the team.
That means the team would not drink any alcohol.
And being a bunch of college students, nobody's going to vote on that. But there was one freshman who raised his hand, and that's Landry. And that just shows who he is as his character. He's going to vote for something he believes in, no matter what the team says about it.
Landry is basically one step ahead of me through our careers at K-State.
Seth Porter also walked onto the K-State Wildcats football program as an undersized slot receiver, just like Landry.
He was always a guy that I could look up to and I could see, okay, what is he doing? Because he's at where I want to be in a year. And so I would just try to emulate his work, emulate the way he carried himself throughout the building and things like that. It was always fun to see Landry. He's super nice, easy to talk to. And then when it came to go time, whether it was a workout or it was a drill or it was game time, like he was cutthroat, which was really cool. I like that.
Landry's hard work paid off after 2 seasons. New head coach Chris Kleiman awarded him a scholarship.
I come out of the office and my brother's waiting there because he's on staff, and so we just had a really cool moment as brothers of him putting his arm around me and congratulating me, and just he did the same thing. He walked on and earned his scholarship, and so it's just a real bond of like we know he knows what I'm going through. The other funny part about my story was my sister was playing volleyball at K-State at the time, and she had an even more difficult walk-on journey.
She's super energetic. Mackenzie is, so excited and enthusiastic, and the older sister by 20 months,
And she was in her senior year, still a walk-on the volleyball program, and they actually put her on scholarship about an hour before I got put on scholarship.
And the first person she called in the world was Landry. He never mentioned that the football coaches called him in and said, we're rewarding you with a scholarship. That might be our first instance where Landry didn't act like a normal person. He just zipped his lip and had no desire to tell Mackenzie that he got a scholarship also. I mean, that was kind of the start.
Or tell me. He didn't tell me either because I was so excited for Mackenzie. He didn't share it with me.
That kind of humbleness of a whole nother level of maturity. We can say, hey, these are our kids. But now when he starts doing things like that, I know that I just step back and go, wait a second, he's like at another level than I would expect, from a 20-year-old or now 25-year-old.
So what was the turning point for Landry? There wasn't just one.
When I was in 3rd grade, I had there's a couple things that happened that made me think that I should be a priest when I'm older. And it freaked me out. I didn't really want anything to do with it. So I kind of pushed it to the back of my mind and hope it'd go away.
As a football-loving teenager, Landry claimed to be doing the bare minimum as a disciple of Jesus Christ.
I would go to Mass on Sunday. I was happy to be a Catholic. I can't say I prayed very often, daily. And I just didn't necessarily do those things until I got to college. And Mackenzie, my sister, was really getting involved in the church, spending a lot of time with the Lord in prayer, going to Mass multiple times a week. And she just invited me to go deeper, to build the relationship deeper with God. She kind of pulled me and said, this is the way to go. Come join me. And so I did.
Landry said as he drew closer to God, God drew closer to him.
He began to just invite me and ask me to do this thing, to give my life to him, to give my life in service to him as a priest, in service to his people. And it happened my freshman year as I actually started to date a girl, the girl that I really thought highly of. Eventually, that relationship ended, and the Lord just continued to confirm and over again ask me if I would come be his priest. When
I found out, I wasn't surprised at all.
This again is former K-State teammate Mason Barta.
I knew he was thinking about it throughout college, and it wasn't until about when I lived with him our senior years. He was like, yeah, I know I've always thought about this. And I was like, I know. What do you think? And he's like, I think I am going to pursue it. And I think it's the way God's calling me. And I was like, dude, pursue it.
He's one of the most driven and disciplined people I've ever known.
Former Wildcat wide receiver Seth Porter.
He easily could have just been like, you know what? I'm going to go into the corporate world. I'm going to do this. he is so smart. The way his brain works, like if he wanted to go the way of the world and just like go get a job and go make a lot of money, he could have done that better than 99% of the population because of how driven and disciplined and smart he is. But he decided, you know what? No, this is what I feel God's calling me to. And that takes a ton of faith and a ton of obedience for him to, you know, to listen to the Lord and to submit to what he thinks he has laid out for his life.
With the decision on what he planned to do with the rest of his life behind him, the only question was when he was going to enter the seminary. After 5 years at Kansas State, Landry would receive his master's degree in accounting. But the NCAA allowed him, and many others, a 6th year of eligibility due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
When I first heard that we were going to have a COVID year, it was a no-brainer. I want to do that. I mean, I love K-State football. This is my dream.
I would have bet every bit of money we have, 100% he's going to play.
Landry's dad, Stan Weber.
So with that backdrop, there's no doubt, not because of me, because of the dream and what was there. He was a starter. He was ready to roll.
And as I approached the end of that year and just going and praying with the Lord, I approached a scripture verse in Luke. It's Luke 9, the end of Luke 9, and it's called the Would-Be Disciples of Christ. And in it, Jesus Christ calls some disciples to follow him. He says, follow me, and they kind of all have excuses why not to follow him. And one of them is, let me go and bury my father first. And it seems on the surface like, oh, well, come on, Jesus, let him go bury his father, you know? But I had someone open up that verse to me that he's actually really what he was telling Jesus is, let me get my inheritance first. Like his father wasn't dead. He's just saying, let my father die. I'll bury him, get my inheritance, and then I'll come follow you. And when I read that, it was just clear that I was that man. I was, the Lord had been calling me for about 5 years up to that point. And I kind of made a promise in that after 5 years, let me finish playing my football career. Let me finish living my dream. And then, I'll happily give my life to you, Lord. And now I was trying to negotiate, well, 6th year, come on, then I'll give my life to you. Let me really finish living my dream and doing what I want to do. And then I'll give my life to you. And that was the moment that I realized I'm this man, and the Lord just telling me, no, I'm asking you to follow me now. Are you willing to give up this thing you love, this dream of yours, and choose me above it? And the only answer I could give was yes, Lord. I'll give up this thing I love for you.
Emotionally for me, it was so hard. I was so excited to see him play that one more year, and I know how much he would enjoy it and dreamt about it type of thing in his life, and now he's being pulled away. So yeah, it was a very big struggle for me, and it turned into a struggle for him, I believe.
Kansas State outlasts TCU.
K-State won the Big 12 championship that year.
And they are Big 12 champions for the first time in a decade.
And I had a very legitimate chance of being a captain of that team. It wasn't until about a year later that I kind of sat down and was discussing with my dad and could kind of just feel something was in between us. And as we just opened up and shared with each other, just kind of realizing that it was really difficult for both of us, for me not to play that last year. At the end of the day, our relationship grew stronger through it because we shared those emotions with each other, our hurt with each other. And I think I feel closer to him than ever because of it.
Thompson harassed in the pocket already. Lets it go, and it's complete.
Landry's 24-yard catch against the LSU Tigers in the Texas Bowl was the last play of his college football career. He left the field with an injury in the first quarter and never returned to the field. The field he worked in on a hot summer day in 2024 was a bit different, and so were his teammates. Landry and a bunch of Lawrence, Kansas teenagers were helping to clean up the property at a home for foster kids.
I'd say it's a great change of pace from the normal schedule we have, and you're not on your phone and you're talking to new people.
You can come out and just help people in need. We've been to a lot of people's houses, some older ladies who really have are unable to take care of their properties but really want to live in a beautiful place, and it's really beautiful to help
It's part of a local mission trip for the young Catholic parishioners. Landry and others who are studying to be priests took a break from their studies at a seminary in Denver to serve in the Kansas City diocese, which includes Lawrence. And Landry didn't just help the teens with community beautification projects, he also imparted the good word of God.
Earlier today, he was walking us through how to better pray the Mass. And it was, one of the things that struck me, he was talking about the Eucharistic prayers and how the priest will say these prayers, and then we're called to also offer up our specific prayers with these prayers to the altar to bring up to the Lord. I just love how passionate he is about everything. It just really shines through that he believes all this and he cares about it, and every action he seems to do, he's trying his best.
They're dedicating a week of their life. They're sacrificing a lot to be here. And the way that they serve others, the way they interact with the homeowners and just bring the love of God to them, to see how incredibly they work and skillfully they do and the progress they make in their work is extremely edifying. And then to just see their heart move throughout the week as they just grow closer to the Lord and seeing their openness and their vulnerability. It edifies me just a ton.
As you can tell, Landry is a pretty humble guy, which is why he didn't like conducting interviews after his desire to become a priest was broadcast all over the world.
It felt prideful to do the interviews.
So why did Landry agree to talk to me? He finally figured out that his story has nothing to do with him.
Maybe there's a kid out there who might see my story and it might lead him to God. Maybe there's an athlete out there that sees it and goes, oh, I can both love sports and love God. There's kind of an attitude that the two don't go together. And so that, I didn't intentionally seek it out, but as my story has gone, that's been one of the only reasons that I kind of even say yes to doing interviews.
Has there ever been times in the past couple of years where you're like, did I make the right decision?
Oh, of course I wrestle with some doubts. Again, I'm human. And so there's days, some days, sometimes it's a small moment that's pretty easy to overcome and just go, no, I trust in the Lord. And other times I doubt for longer stretches of time. And what I've noticed though, recently is that as those doubts have come on, especially maybe stronger, the Lord pretty quickly has been just affirming and confirming my decision. And I just think it's been a great act of mercy and love from him that he's been swooping in when I start to doubt and just, affirming me.
A Wildcat's Walk with God was produced and written by Whitney Sheffield and Cleon Wall. Music and post-production by Kevin West. A big thanks to ESPN for the highlights. Make sure you watch BYUTV's Big Stories by logging on to BYUSN.com. Big Stories is a production of BYU Radio.